Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Board of Commissioners meeting in Skagit, PUD. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Standing. All right, I will be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move to approve consent agenda items 1 through 6 and with the exception of 4.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, let's jump right into some second quarter financials and CIP update.
All right. Good afternoon, commissioners.
Hello.
We'll be doing a quick summary of the second quarter financials. So this includes all of the numbers that we've processed invoices through June 30th. These are some of the topics that we'll be covering this afternoon. You can see in the revenue that we're doing pretty well. Consumption is down for the first 6 months, but overall residential revenue is up, commercial revenue is up. There's some red numbers under non-operating revenue. Interest earnings are down 17% over the prior year, but we are ahead of budget for that. And then work orders and system development fees and non-operating revenue, usually tied to commercial projects, new developments, off to a slower start this year, economic uncertainty and inflation, I'd say. Overall expenses are up about 8%, but below budget. Capital expenditures are below what we've anticipated so far budget-wise. But overall, revenue is up 4%. Expenses are below budget. We had positive cash flow of $3.3 million, and we have reserves of just under $29 million at the end of June. So the district funds we invest with the state, we have $28.9 million, 24 of that is invested with the state right now. 3 funds that we track separately. General Revenue Fund is $18.2 million. System development, we have about $8.4 million. And debt service is up to $2.3 million. We accrue every month for debt service, and then we had a large payment in June 1st and July 1st. The July 1st payment is the day after this is snapshot of the financials, and that's $1.4 million. So that's our large bond payment that we do each year. As I said, we invest that with the state. The LGIPs, the short-term investment pool, 1 year and less of investments. For the month of June, we earned 3.7% interest on that. And I showed the long-term trend there from January 2025 all the way up through June of 2026. And the LGIP uses a benchmark 2-year treasury. The LGIP is the blue line on top, and it lags behind the treasury and comes down slower. And then you see just at the beginning of this year, there's an uptick both for Middle East conflicts and inflation. So that blue line should trend up now and follow the 2-year treasury, but it takes a while for it to catch up. Consumption comparison, I have 3-year comparison. It's of interest only, you can see trends. We budget the seasonality for the budget on the trends, the weather, and what we anticipate. On the graph here, you see the lighter color is the 2026. The last 3 months are significantly higher and going up, which is a normal trend there. But you see back in 2024, February and March, we had high consumption in those 2 months. And it's usually due to cold weather and either water running preventively or water running after the leaks occur. But that's a trend that we see. So overall, consumption for the year is down 1.4% from the prior year and about 5% down from 2024. So we'll watch that going forward. what that means for the revenue by month. Again, 3-year comparison, and then the black line on top is the 2026 budget. So far, we're trending right on the seasonally adjusted budget. We're about 3% ahead for the 6 months. And you see the uptick there from May to June. June is the beginning of the warmer weather and more consumption, so that will continue for the next 3 months. And in dollars, then we had $3.15 million of water sales for June. We're at $16.4 million for year-to-date water sales. That's a 4% increase over the prior year. And again, you can see the increases on residential. That's our largest category, 5% increase. That's a good positive trend. Commercial's up about 2%. And then resale water's up 26, but that's on a smaller number. So all are ahead of budget, that 3% number. And then as I mentioned at the beginning, the non-revenue or other water sales first are 2% increase over last year. The non-operating is the interest. So you can see we're below last year's interest of that 491 compared to 590. There's a few other miscellaneous things, but mostly that's interest income. That's down 17%, but it is ahead of budget because I anticipated that we'll be spending our reserve down faster and that the interest rates would come down. So far, both of those haven't happened yet, so we're earning more money than we anticipated, which is a good thing. Work orders, service orders, system development fees, again, are tied to new construction, and we're off to a slower start from last year, but on track to budget. So $17.8 million total revenue so far, 6 months. Operating expenses are up 8% overall. This is by category, and you see that the largest category is salaries, wages, and benefits. A couple things there. We have higher insurance costs for health benefits, and then we've hired 2 new employees. One is to backfill a retirement at the water treatment plant, and the other is a new project manager that is a vacant position that we haven't had in the budget for a couple of years. Overall, those are just recent hires, so that 9% includes a little bit of their salaries and wages compared to the prior year. Water treatment plant, the big increase here is for pumping. We filled the reservoir here in the last couple months, in preparation for the warm weather and turning the pumps down. So $365,000 of that $747,000 is all for power to pump and fill the reservoir. Repairs, maintenance, tech, SCADA support, professional services, those are all project driven. So they have to do with when we make a purchase or when we're doing a project, we buy equipment. We have added a couple vehicles to the fleet early this year. That's up 9%. Professional services is down overall so far. A lot of that has just to do with scheduling with our vendors and the equipment as we get it for the tech and SCADA. Goods and services up another 8%. General increases for everything. We're seeing it in parts, but also our insurance costs are in there, which continue to go up each year. And then the last one, construction in progress. This is the offset that we allocate costs to capital projects, and that's basically down from last year and below budget, tied to the capital projects, which are also starting out slower than we anticipated. But overall, we're 4% below budget, so we're in good shape there. As I mentioned, new construction is a little bit slower for the first 6 months. We have 50 new meters that we've sold in that time period. June is an uptick. Hopefully that'll continue in the summer months, but we usually do at least 10 new meter services every month. So we're, instead of 60 on average, we're at 50 so far this year. But you can just see the comparison on when that happens during the year. Hopefully that'll continue on. And capital contributions, $700,000 for 6 months. The line happens to be right on the actual year-to-date numbers there, but that 672 is definitely below last year of $1 million and below budget of $1.4 million. The only one that we're ahead of budget is work orders. So that's work we perform and are paid and reimbursed by others. Donated plant has to do with infrastructure that's turned over to the district and deeded to the district for us to maintain in the future. A lot of this, again, is project driven, and there's just a lag time between when the work's done, when we get the paperwork done, and when we add it to the books. So these numbers can change greatly just month by month and quarter by quarter. So we anticipate to revert closer to the budget anyway by the end of the year. Quick cash flow summary. Again, recapping, the total revenues were up 1% over last year. Expenses are up 8%, but well within budget. Capital expenses we're going to talk about after this slide, but we're below last year. We did 4.2 million in the first half of last year. We're just now entering the prime construction, so this number will go up greatly with the July numbers. But right now at the end of June, it's 1.7 million. Debt service is flat, no change there. But we did have a positive income, so $3.3 million. And you can see we've added to reserves. Last year, reserves were 25 million. At the end of the year, we had about 26 million. So we're up about $2.7 million just from January 1st on. So that's a positive. All right, now we'll change into the capital improvement plan. This is an update on the capital improvement plan and projects, but it's from the finance perspective. So we're getting ready to go into the budget. So we're not going to talk specific projects, but I'm going to give you an update on what's happened and then where we're going. And that's just kind of a teaser for the budget that's coming up. So, the capital improvement plan 22, 23, and 24, we did between 20 and $25 million each year. Last year was the first year that we budgeted below that, $15 million, and we ended 2025 at just over $10 million of capital projects. The main reason for that was two large projects that we budgeted, the Alger relocation of the pipeline and the water treatment plant generator projects, which are both on hold at that time. One, it's a washed-out project, and they weren't ready to go. And then we put the generator project on hold as we applied for a grant. So we're still waiting to hear back from the grant. And as soon as we have that, yes or no, we'll move forward with the continuation with that project. But it's both of those are multi-year projects. So they'll carry into 25 and 26. And then you see going out in the next 3 years, we continue to have large capital improvement plans, working on extending the useful life of our projects, our infrastructure, and then adding one new Panorama water tank storage, which we are in the process of reapplying for a low interest loan, which I'll talk a little bit more in a minute. By type and category, the $1.7 million breaks down like this. The main primary focus for the district is pipe replacement projects. So we spent $450,000 on that. Operation, maintenance, and major capital, the 311 again is valves, motors, PRVs, anything that is infrastructure. Most of this is just replacing what we already have, extending the life. And there are some new projects or buying new motors and replacing those. The next category is developer projects, $300,000. And a lot of this will turn into those donated assets that we talked about earlier from the developer infrastructure, tying in new apartments or subdivisions into our water system. And then operations, again, repairs and maintenance, the Guimas RO plants in there, different projects like that we are tracking. And then coordinated other agencies. This is our infrastructure and the right-of-ways that need to be relocated, mainly for fish passage or road construction or changes, roundabouts, all of those things that other agencies require us to move our infrastructure for. All right, this is a little bit small, but this is specific project status now. And I can provide this to you if you'd like after. But as you know, we've talked about it, but the Hillcrest pipe replacement project, we were geared up to go with that. And in the final permitting process, they added some extra requirements. So we put that project on hold and we've pivoted and are doing the pipe replacement projects below that. Conway, Rector Road, South 18th, Mosier, Peterson are all projects that are in the works or have been done. If it's grayed out there on the screen, it's a multi-year project. So the 2026 budget is what we anticipated spending just this year, but it will continue on into next year. And the Conway Pipeline project, we're hope to get it designed and the purchase of the easements this year before the end of the year, and then possibly bid for during the winter months or early next year. Rector Road's already done. 18th is already done. Those were done by our own staff, smaller pipeline project replacements that we did. Mosier Road is going to be done before the end of the year. And Peterson Road is, we're sending out letters today for start next week. So that one will be going on next for the rest of the year and completed this year. That's a big, long 4,300 linear feet pipe replacement. And then I mentioned the relocation at Alger. This is the wash dock project that's been talked about and designed for the last several years. July 2nd, they gave us the go-ahead on the final plans with the easements. And so we are actively working alongside WashDOT when they give us a go-ahead to relocate that pipeline. The water treatment plant generator I mentioned is on hold till we get response from the grant. We anticipated that having happened already, but I think with the government shutdowns earlier in the year, they're behind. So we hope to get good news from that soon. The disinfection system replacement study is ongoing. Let's see, I think it's in permitting, and then we hope to bid that in Q3. Water treatment plant pump replacement system is 100% complete. The backwash pump upgrade is also going to be 60% designed now. We'll spend about $200,000 of that money this year, and then we'll be assessing where we go from that point on during the budget process. And then the Badger meter transmitter replacements, we spent about $563,000. The good news on that, we are within less than 100, I'll say, of the regs transmitter replacements. And I look back, we've been doing this since October of 2021. We've replaced 20,707 regs in that period. So meter crew, maintenance crew, and billing clerk and all of customer service helped out on that project. So there was a lot of paperwork involved, a lot of coordination, and it's a huge relief. We're finally getting through that. So hopefully batteries will last at least another 15 years. And then Panorama, it's 90% design. We were successful in getting a low interest loan to finish the design of that, which is in process now. And we'll use that updated information and reapply for a low interest loan up to $10 million, hopefully, to go forward with that project and talk about that. And later on, we'll present the resolution for approval for the board for that project, support of that project. The storage tank recoating, I knew I was going to do it. 9th and Highland, not redecorating. We're going to recoat the outside of it this year. And then during the assessment, the vendor and consultant recommended that we do the interior and exterior of that tank. It's a major project. There's going to be a lot of noise associated with that. So the plan right now is to combine that into one large project, and it'll be done next summer as soon as school's out because of the noise and the school location close to that. Potlatch RO plant replacement, 100% done. They're doing the final testing and final programming, but all the expenses will be rolling in from that. And then we're going forward with the remodel. Hope to have that bid during Q3 for the old operations building. And then the SRD recondition of pumps. So Mike has talked about these projects before. We've rebuilt some of the motors. We've changed the motors, are trying to improve the life expectancy of those. And the good news is the conditions and the testing of the one that we did replace, it's working better than anticipated or better than spec. So that program basically anticipated replacing motors each or every other year, a different motor, and we hopefully will be able to extend that out. So more information on that coming. And then the algae well capacity, we're getting the final geotech, and we got the pump, I believe, already purchased for that, but there'll be a pump house built and added capacity to that well in the future. And let's see, the fiber project and the I-5 Colson Trail Bore are interrelated, and we have a grant for those. We're just beginning them in dollar cents on theirs, but they're in final permitting and will be done by the end of the year also. Sorry about that. And then Division Street Bridge painting. So again, a washed out project. We're just paying for our painting of our pipe that goes across that bridge, and they just closed the bridge for one-way traffic. So for the next year, they'll be working on the bridge there to West Mount Vernon, and we will get our pipe done sometime on that. And we'll be good news on that one is it came in substantially below that estimated project cost. So it's about 160 right now. So that's much lower cost on that. So that's a quick recap. From my perspective, it's the total CIP and the fundings is what I'm concerned about. So when the projects, how much we're under or over budget, how they're coming in, and then the timing of those projects so that I can put it into the financing plan. We do have a number of things, the grant for the generator and also the low interest loans that will be pending. So as we move into the budget cycle, hopefully we'll have results from those applications, and then we'll have a better handle on what we'd need, if anything else, from a financing perspective. But right now we're in good shape. Our reserves are higher than we anticipated at this time, and they will be used to pay for the projects this year and next year for sure. And so it'll just be what else we add to that, or the project timing. So any questions on any of that?
Just a quick question on the Panorama tank. So as far as timing for going out to bid on that project, what do we expect sometime next year? Is that, or sooner? Is it just depending on our loan status first and then
End of the year permitting and bidding?
first quarter?
Probably January bid.
Okay.
January bid. Hopefully construction.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And we're going to get updated cost.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
We're good.
Thank you. All right, so moving into audience comments. If you are in the audience, come on up to the podium, seeing staff and friends here. If you're online, you can use the raise your hand function. I'm calling you. Seeing no one there, we can now move into some new business. Approval of these resolutions. Who's going to take these for?
We're doing new business before old business.
Yeah, it's a new
We
thing.
juggled it around to
Changing
see if
things
people are paying
around.
attention.
All right. So this is a requirement of the loan application to show that the board is behind and supports the project application, so that they don't waste their time going through an application and then not, granting a grant and then not awarding it because we turn it down. So we did this in December of 2025. It's for the Public Works Trust Fund loan application. We were successful on getting the final design portion of it. You can see the numbers on there. They're very good loan terms. So that 1.06% would be similar to what we might look for the construction loan if it is awarded. But we're geared up to do it. The timing is going to be close as we get the updated information, but it should be a good project for them to award. And this was just asking the board to approve the resolution, sign it.
And make a motion, excuse me, to approve resolution 2320-26, supporting the application for a low interest loan to fund the Panorama water storage tank.
And I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, so now let's approve a water policy manual change.
What we're presenting today is some changes to the water policy manual that allow AMI meters for our largest customers. Those customers use a lot of water. I think it's 350 CCF per day and have NPDES permits. Right now, some of these customers, or at least one of these customers, needs to do daily reporting on their water consumption and the sanitary sewer that's tracked through the sanitary sewerage plant. And they need this for their NPDES permit. And right now, they don't have any other way of getting the information other than going out to the meter vault, having someone lift the meter, go in there and look at it. Would prefer that not happen. The AMI technology that we have is compatible with our registers and our meters. We have the AMI technology that we use internally, so we have the software. This is just really a bolt-on for these couple users potentially for these specific reporting purposes. It will require some manual entry of their billing information, and there is an additional fee with each meter for processing the data. It's 93 cents now. We'll pass that along to the customer as well. Trying to think if there's any other highlights. But really what we're looking for right now, depending on how comfortable you are with if you want to look at the specifics in the policy, we can do that. There's not a whole lot. Chapter 3 or the changes to Section 3 basically establish this type of service. And it really, again, it's a bolt on to all of our other services. All we're doing is we're replacing the AMR head with the AMI head, and it plugs in. And of course, I don't think we see this going throughout our district, and I don't think we want to, because we just replaced all those AMR heads throughout our system. So we're trying to stay away from that. And then Chapter 4 establishes some sort of kind of funding mechanism, or talks about how it's paid for, and some other criteria. And then there's a couple of sections in Table 5 where it's a time and materials cost to go and for our crews to swap out the meter, the end point. It's not a fee that we're going to assign. We're just going to charge time and materials is the intent. So if you're comfortable passing tonight, great. If you want to take your time and review it for a little while, that's fine too. There's no pressure on this one.
I just have a quick question as far as the compatibility goes with, you're saying additional manual entries. So I'm assuming that our like billing software is not necessarily compatible with the AMI system. Is that
Correct.
That's the additional
Yeah,
step?
correct.
Okay.
The way it goes, and I'm not the IT and I'm not the North Star, but the way it's set up is our AMR system submits that information to North Star and Kayenta differently than the AMI system does. And in order to, and then there's an additional fee from Badger to do that, and we don't want to do that either for a couple customers.
Gotcha.
We are doing AMI on Guaymas Island.
That makes sense.
That's a place where the PUD chose to do it from an operational efficiency standpoint. So we don't charge them the additional per meter fee.
Okay.
It's just something we roll in. Yeah.
I like AMI, so.
But it's interesting because it's more information.
It is.
So it can create additional operational questions.
Yeah, it helps with optimization in a big way. And for those that manage NPDES permits, it really is very helpful for your industrial users to see that lifetime data or live-ish time data.
Was that a motion?
No, it wasn't. I was just
Oh,
asking a question,
okay.
but I can. No, I happily will. A motion
do this
to
when I do.
approve the water policy manual changes related to the AMI customers.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, now let's talk about the resolution adopting an update to the Skagit County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So every 5 years, Skagit County updates their hazard management plan. And that plan is designed to address pre-planning for natural and also man-made disasters that are likely or could occur in Skagit County and affect our economy and the community. Every participating organization in Skagit County, last 5-year cycle, we had 20 participating agencies. This update, we have 44. And so we have participated with the county since 2019 in the hazard mitigation plan. So I did work with the county to do updates to our plan, basically just brought our plan into focus and brought it up to date. That's primarily what that is. So this resolution is a requirement of FEMA and also the state to make sure that participating agencies have the full backing of their entire administrative unit. And if we have elected officials, we have to have that vote as well. So I think that's what I'm looking for tonight is just is a vote on the resolution to continue our relationship with Skagit County and the state and the federal government in pre-planning.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, thanks for staying on top of that.
Yeah, absolutely. A motion to approve the resolution number 2321-26, adopting the 2026 update to the Skagit County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you
for
for
your
your
time.
Thank you.
All right, now let's talk about letters to Ecology. Sounds like
Yes, I will
Good
take this
diary.
one.
a great horror movie, actually.
Yeah, as the board is aware, there are some, we got some emails and I talked to some members of the board who didn't get the email, but Washington's Water Future is an initiative led by Governor Ferguson and the State Department of Ecology. Recently developed initiative to help Washington prepare for water challenges. And in their email, they are planning to host regional roundtables with local stakeholders in those regions. And the intent is to gather input and feedback. And then at the end of those regional meetings, they're planning on holding a statewide meeting that is open to the public. The regional meetings were intended and the invitation was written as only the invitations only, and it was not going to be broadcast or recorded for public consumption later. There have been many requests locally for the Skagit meeting to record that meeting and that make it available afterwards for public consumption. And so Commissioner Hamburg is invited to the meeting along with myself, and she had asked if we could support the other local agencies that are requesting to have the meeting recorded. So the letter that's in there, it's not long, but it basically just says we would like to support our local partners and request that the meeting be recorded. So.
And just an additional piece of information, I did submit a request via email upon receiving this invitation to ask for it to be recorded and did receive denial. So I
Did or you did?
I did. I did receive that that was not the intention, that was not, and others,
Yeah.
I have heard through the grapevine, others have as well. So this is just us formally saying that, walking into this, we really do think that it's valuable to have that level of transparency, just so that there's no misinformation being provided. Especially since what we are going through and the level of transparency that we're trying to maintain during our own policy setting with our raw water resources, I think it's very important that we show this intent. We do still plan to attend. I do still plan to
Mhm.
attend with George, but making sure that we will be taking our own notes and just listening. So,
And so this letter would be on behalf of the entire
The entire
board.
board.
But I think there were 3, maybe 4 requests to record. And yes, Department of Ecology, I think in a couple of different emails said no multiple times. I don't know if they've come off that or not, but it doesn't hurt to let them know where we stand.
mhm.
So.
Not that hard to record a meeting these days.
No, it's a issue. I mean,
Nope.
we have particular sensitivities in our community that would be well served by some transparency. So I'm in favor of it.
So there's a requested motion there.
I'd make a motion to approve the letter in support of a request to record the upcoming Washington Water Future Skagit Roundtable meeting.
I second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
I
Motion carries. Thank you.
I'm planning to go to that too,
Oh, that'd be great.
Did you get an invitation, Peter?
because Mr. Hamburg added, yes.
Okay.
done.
Bring your lawyer. That'll make him quick. All right, George. Get a minute, the general
All right,
manager report while you're at it.
Sure. Yes. Just to go back, we did swap around the old business and new business just because in old business, we're going to talk about the water rights lease program. I thought that might turn into a longer discussion. So I just want to get the other business out of the way with the resolutions and other things. So that's why we did that. But we do have still more to talk about. My update will be fairly brief. Commissioner Miller and I did attend the public hearing on the data center moratorium today at Skagit County and at the Skagit County office. And I'm not going to get into a lot of it, but I think it's important just to tell you what I heard. There's still a misperception about data centers being in competition with the water rights that we're using in our water rights lease program. And I don't know how to get off of that or how to clarify that. It's repeated. And our position, I think we've all talked about it. If the county allows data centers to be constructed, which is their decision, not ours, the data centers are highly unlikely to be interested in temporary and seasonal water rights. I just don't see that. They wouldn't be in competition for the water rights that we're making available as part of this program. So agriculture is not in competition with any large industrial users that want piped water. Just think we didn't make any, well, Commissioner Miller made a statement, but yeah, we didn't get into this at the hearing today, but just after what I heard, I thought it was important to address that again. I'm assuming maybe say something in commissioner comments about that. Okay. The only other thing I'll add, well, a couple of things. Brian pointed out we have spent more on pumping. The reservoir is near top of spill or top of reservoir is near spill, so that's good. We managed to keep the reservoir full. And it just as an aside, Kurt Van Berkeley does a really good job at tracking all of our pumping costs by month with PSE so that at the end of the year, we know how much we've spent on pumping every million gallons. So at the end of the year, we'll figure out how many million gallons we've pumped and what was our total cost in pumping. And if there's a trend, and we can identify trends on, did we pump more in any given year? Was it at times of year when it was more expensive? Like we'll be able to figure all that out. So month by month, we're not necessarily doing that. That's, an exercise for the end of the year, but that is something that we're keeping track of and we have a lot of detail on. So at the end of the year, we'll break that down for you probably in a little bit better of an explanation. But the fact that we're pumping a lot now doesn't necessarily mean we're spending more on pumping because we may be pumping later anyway.
Mhm.
So just sometimes there's a misperception about that. And then just one other thing, we are putting the final touches on an application to Ecology for drought funding to automate the Munt Creek intake, similar to what we did for Gilligan Creek.
Excellent.
So that's in process. And we'll let you know how that goes.
Excellent.
That's it for me, unless you
All
have any
right.
questions.
Mhm.
No?
Alistair.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for having me, and we're going to try to get through this pretty quickly. So I'm happy to report that our Zero Trust through Zscaler is implemented. We're still working out some kinks with some folks being able to access some of our remote resources using it. And we've got some of our third-party vendors that are now able via Zscaler to get specifically to their applications, no longer using the VPN. They don't have access to our network, and we're really, really happy with the application, and we're looking forward to some other things in the future that we'll be able to do. It's a really, really cool product, and how we're doing our networking and how we're segmenting off folks from getting to applications that we want them to get to, and not just going through a standard VPN. The other cool thing about with the application that we've got is all of our folks now that have a laptop issued to them, the application will know whether they're here on campus or if they're off of the network, and it'll immediately fire up. And it'll fire up based on their login. So it's really cool. It's almost as if they can go anywhere and securely get to all of their applications without having to go through a rigorous process of doing a two-factor authentication. The two-factor is them actually going through the process of logging on through their account. So we're really very, very happy with that. Last month, we put in a grant application with the state emergency management. There's a state and local cybersecurity grant that's issued through DHS, and they've got some money that they are issuing, or they're allowing local entities to apply for. So we've got some old firewalls up at the water treatment plant that are due to be replaced, and we figured this would be a good project, and we put in an application. We'll hear from them hopefully in September if we're successful, and that'll be some costs that we can offset. And so we're gonna hopefully keep our fingers crossed to get those replaced. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of what our strategy is regarding AI. A lot of this is informed by our attending the water workshop conference in the AWWA conference in DC a couple of weeks ago. And I'm gonna start this off about 2 years ago. We were at the Waputa conference in Spokane, and I remember specifically during lunch, they had a guy that was up there giving a presentation about something, and he made a comment about AI in the water utilities, and he pretty much said, "You guys don't have to worry about AI. You're not going to ever use it. You don't have to worry about it. It's nothing that you need to concern yourself with." I think 2 years later, we could revisit that comment, and I think we're going to have a different attitude about the use of AI. Everybody in some shape or form is using it. We need to come to grips with what that's going to mean for the PUD. And we're starting some of that process already. Mark Semrau came to see me a couple of weeks before ACE, and he had a project that he's looking to use up at the treatment plant to essentially forecast in a much more accurate way demand that may be coming. So the operators are able to anticipate when peak demand may come and make whatever arrangements that they are doing in a much more efficient way than what they're doing right now. And at the conference, we knew that there were going to be a couple of booths that had folks that were saying, "We're doing AI for water utilities." Mark and I went and visited a couple, and he had a white paper, and they were very impressed by it. And a lot of their conversation to us revolved around, well, do you have to do an RFP, or are there ways that we can engage with you to get these projects done? Which was kind of like, hold on now. We don't know who you are and what it is that you're doing. The second thing that I found, or from most of them, was they want us to send our data up to them in their secure clouds. And they would work with us to develop whatever model we want to help us do these forecasting trends, which I guess sounds good for them. But again, I've got questions around, that revolve around the integrity of our data. Are you using our data to help your LLMs to train your models so that you will eventually either sell it to other folks or you're going to be gobbled up by somebody else? And I think at the end of that conversation, we kind of agreed, I don't know that this is the best way for us to go by sending our data out to some third party entity to train somebody else's LLM. We want to keep hold of our data and utilize whatever services may be. So I think, well, one of the things that Mark had mentioned and what we hadn't done is really revolve around governance and coming up with a policy. So we've got a draft policy that we're looking at, and hopefully in either the next commissioner meeting or two, we'll have something for you guys to look at and approve. So we're going to do that. We're also trying to get our heads wrapped around security. For now, most folks have access to Copilot. They've got access to Gemini, ChatGPT, and a lot of folks are using it for just to enhance search, help crafting policies. Sorry, Pete, also doing wills and other things like that. And a lot of that stuff is pretty innocuous. It's not our data actually going out into the cloud. It's just things that are helping us out. The problem gets to be is if somebody begins to develop an agent, and using an AI agent is when folks give this piece of software access to do things that they may want us to do. At the moment, I don't think the PUD has any interest in trying to deploy any agents out into the system. And if we do, we need to do it in a very considered and secure way. So that's kind of sort of where we are as far as where our long-term strategy is on AI, and we're going to do things in a very deliberate fashion. So that was kind of my spiel on AI and where I think we're going with it as an organization. We have no intention of using it to replace anybody's job or anything like that, but we do need to find ways how we're going to strategically use it. We want to do that in a measured fashion.
Very good.
That's it.
I really appreciate you guys really having that conversation, because I think a lot of the times you kind of feel like you're all or nothing in the AI world. I mean, you either lock everything down and you have on-prem everything, or, because it's just who knows, who do you trust? And I mean, that's something in my day-to-day that as I'm looking through different softwares to modernize my data systems.
Well, and
it's difficult.
And again, I think one of the things that Mark and I, as we were discussing it, and Mark, please feel free to chime in if I'm misrepresenting anything, is that a lot of the software that we're engaging with are going to be offering AI as part of their software offering. So I don't know that it makes sense for us to engage in some third-party off-brand AI company to send our data to. If we're going to be looking at improving our SCADA software, we got to see if they've got that
Rockwell and
already,
Wonderware already have a lot of
already
them.
incorporated in it and utilize it that way so we can still manage and keep our data.
Yeah, I also at ACE went to a couple of different seminars on that. It was really interesting for elected officials specifically. And one of you hate to call anything a best practice in such a new field, but people who had leadership that had confidence in what was going on, they were making small bets and doing proofs of concept at the work center level, right? And so it was finding out who in that work center was interested in test driving Copilot or something like that, or somebody else was using CoWork to decide. So small intentional bets, right?
And-
Just saying,
and-
here's how this, just so they have an awareness, because some
Absolutely.
people can't get to it fast enough, and other people are like, my VCR still blinks 12. They have a
And as,
VCR.
and as part of being, that innovative utility provider that we're trying to be, I don't think we're going to be first wave at all. We're going to let some of the bigger players go in and do some proof of concepts, but also we are going. The funny thing about going to the conference, and this is a bit of an aside, I was trying to get a scope for who was there and all the stuff that they're doing. And there are a lot of big, big utilities that attend that conference. And we're doing stuff that are equal to them, and we're ahead of them in some of the things that we're doing just as an organization. And so from my perspective as an IT manager, we're swinging above our weight, and I'm real happy about that. We do a real good job with that.
Well, it's about being, strategic and mindful and careful because, you can be sometimes there's such thing as being too excited about something.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
and the same thing of what we're doing with AMI as well. I mean, a lot of utilities saw it and they're like, ooh, let's just spend
Let's
a lot
do
of money and implement it. And there's a lot of growing pains with AMI as well. So I think I just appreciate how we're approaching these technologies moving forward.
Yeah, we want to keep our eye on stuff. We're not going to jump on everything that's out there. We want to see if it's proven, if it works, especially when it makes sense for us.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alistair.
All right, George.
All right, let's get to our water rights lease program. So next, I've got a small introduction, but maybe try and make sure. Brian, can you share your screen? Are you able to do that? You can just overshare or share on top of you, right? There we go. Okay. Looks like that's happening. So with us today from Burke is Brian Murphy and Bethany Hoy. They are going to, we've contracted with them to help us facilitate the stakeholder meeting. That's going to be a part of our process. And so the intent today is to prep for that meeting. We're going to go through meeting structure, format, schedule, invitations, questions, those kinds of things. Have the first discussion about that. We don't have a second meeting this month. So we will come back at the first meeting in August and go back to this. Based on any feedback and comments that the board has, we can make final changes at that August 11th meeting. I'm jumping ahead for Brian. This is on the slide later on, but the intent is to finalize this in August so that we could get to a stakeholder meeting, hopefully in September. And we'll talk about specific dates and considerations that we need to have, but that's the intent today. So I'm gonna hand it over to Brian and Bethany, and they're gonna walk us through this. So I think this is meant to be an interactive conversation with the board as well. Just feel free to chime in when appropriate. Brian, you there?
Yep, we're here, George. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Great. Well, good evening. Good evening, commissioners. It's really nice to be with you, and I appreciate you allowing us to join remotely today. It's not always our preference, but in the world of AI and remote meetings, we'll take advantage of a few efficiencies now and again. So I'm Brian Murphy. I've had the pleasure of working with a PUD a number of times, including, I think, both Commissioner Miller and Commissioner Lindquist were involved in the last strategic plan. So good to see you both again, and thanks for inviting us back. I'm joined by my colleague, Bethany Hoy.
Good evening. My name is Bethany Hoy. I'm an analyst at Burke with a background in civil engineering infrastructure systems, and we are both in the same room. So you'll see Brian's face highlighted when I'm speaking.
And just checking, can you all hear us okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, I love the new building and the new technology. So as George said, our objective tonight really is to just share with you some initial thinking about the stakeholder forum, both who might join that discussion, how we might structure that, when it might be, kinds of questions we might engage folks in. So yeah, please do interject with questions and comments as we go, and we'll iterate on this and then come back to you with a revised plan well before we go live in the actual discussion. So I'm going to frame up just a few of the high-level points and kind of how we're thinking about this meeting, and then Bethany can talk more about the logistics of that. So, George and Kevin and team have kind of shared with us some about where you've been with the water rights pilot, the seasonal sharing of the water use, and we understand the importance of making sure the process is transparent and very thoughtful as you move forward and kind of develop more of a program and policy around that. So we've been engaged to support this community conversation. And we're thinking about both engaging stakeholders and members of the public about the current program and how the policy might be shaped. And I just want to pause and kind of define terms there, because I don't mean to be arcane at all, but we think of these as kind of different groups. So we think of stakeholders as an individual who represents an entity or an interest group. And then the public is, hugely important. That's who you serve. But there are many members of the Skagit County public. And so we focused on different methods to engage stakeholders in a really sort of in-depth, nuanced conversation that would be, inviting a group of different perspectives into a room and having a dialogue. And then creating an opportunity for members of the public, whether they're a resident or business owner or a member of a community group, to provide feedback as well. But we just can't engage that large number in quite the same way. And so we're thinking of different ways to engage those different groups. So this slide is largely showing the time sequence that we're thinking of. So we've proposed a date of September 9th or 10th for that stakeholder forum, inviting different perspectives in, and we'll share some ideas of who those might be. And making sure that meeting and that discussion allows for some real dialogue and back and forth, and it's fully transparent to members of the public. Folks could come and listen, or they could also watch a live stream or a recording of that meeting. We then propose to come up to and meet with the board in person on October 13th and kind of debrief that discussion, engage with you all about identifying next steps. And we would propose opening a public comment before and after that stakeholder forum. So obviously people can email or send a letter to either a board member or to staff. They could give a comment during the public comment period. And then we thought of putting the very same questions that we would bring to the stakeholder group out to the public as well via a form on the PUD website. So let me just pause there and see if there's any questions from the board before we move a little bit further, just sort of step by step into thinking what this meeting might look like. Does that general sequence and definition of terms make sense to you all?
Yeah, Brian, this is Commissioner Hamburg. My only comment is I will be out of the country for most of September. So my proposed date for the stakeholder meeting would be soonest October 6th.
October 6th, okay. Well, I hope you have something fun in mind. We can talk about calendaring and availability for that, because I know it's important to have everyone there.
I might interject just for a second. There's the possibility of maybe doing it the week prior.
That's my wedding week. I don't
Is it the?
think.
Oh, is it?
I don't know. Let me see.
Like, what I know we just started thinking about this afternoon, but the 1st or 2nd, is that possible?
I could make the 1st happen.
The 1st.
The 1st, September 1st.
Okay.
I did have.
Yeah, right.
I did, yeah. Big life.
Enough said.
Life
No,
things.
yeah, you don't have to explain. It's okay. Yes.
But I also did have a couple stakeholders reach out and voice concerns about their busy timeline in
Sure.
September due to harvest.
Yeah.
One stakeholder group in particular. So that was another, I didn't know if timeline wise would be something that we should consider as well. That I just know early September can also be really overwhelming for others too. So
In August or October, we're going to get into our budget hearing
know.
and then all of our budget work. So my goal was to try and resolve or have the stakeholder meeting prior to budgeting, because at that point, I think we're going to have to pause on the water rights lease program, do our budgeting, get the budget adopted, and then go back. Like that's what I was thinking we should do. So that's the only reason I say, is it possible to do it sooner? I know it depends how many people we invite and how many people are available. There's always the chance that not everybody can make it. So I think it's important for us to offer other ways to be able to watch the meeting, submit comments, like all those different things. We need to address that. But that was my hope, to try and get it done if you can before you leave. But
September 1st would work for me.
I can make it work.
Yeah.
okay. I think that we can get our other business done if we can get this done before you leave, and if you have time for it. So if there's anything that comes up after this meeting, please let me know. Keep me up to date. But okay.
Yeah, weddings are a lot of work, and then honeymoons and stuff. I mean, what the heck? No, I think September 1st would be all right. I think maybe just the timing of the meeting, maybe reach out, maybe we could be more
And that's what we're going to talk about. Yeah.
about morning, afternoon.
Yep.
Maybe that might be helpful.
Yeah, I'm sure Brian will talk about that in one of the slides as well, but we haven't decided on times like that, but I think we can try and be as flexible as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Good.
Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, great. I appreciate that conversation and congratulations, Commissioner. We also know like any date we choose won't work for everyone, including in this list of stakeholders that we'd like to invite. So we are thinking that we give an email option for people to give input as well. And this is not just a one and done sort of conversation. So we'll make sure we optimize for time and create parallel opportunities for input. So in thinking about the design of that meeting, like what's that meeting going to look like, we identified 3 objectives. And these 3 objectives kind of have implications below, and it really informed how we're thinking about designing the meeting. So one, we think it's really important that we level set and that the PUD has an opportunity to sort of share the understanding of the basics or the foundations. So communicating your intent, talking about the program history and why it was begun, talking about some of the operational challenges and considerations. So kind of making sure everyone's starting from the same starting point. Then we want to make sure we learn from everyone. That everyone's there has got a point of view and we want to hear from them. So we're going to design multiple ways to give input and both verbal and written. And then we want, kind of in-depth dialogue. So we're designing this so it's not like a public hearing where you get 2 minutes at the podium and you say your piece and then you step down. But we really want to create some time for asking questions and some dialogue and some richer engagement about this. So that's kind of how we focus the agenda development, which Bethany can start to get into.
Yes, thanks, Brian. Apologies. I have a reflex to unmute, but I'm not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
All right. So for the draft stakeholder forum format, there are some high-level meeting parameters that we propose, and we'll get into the details on the next few slides. We want to keep the meeting between 20 and 25 invited stakeholders that represent a variety of participant groups and different viewpoints. We recognize that there are so many people that could be represented at this meeting, and we want to be able to accomplish those objectives that Brian just outlined. So to do that, we believe that it needs to be limited to 25 stakeholder perspectives. Proposed duration, 2 to 3 hours, likely during business hours. We will elaborate on that and what the timing would look like in next slides. Proposed location, Aqua Room. This would be an either option for public viewing in person or via live stream or recording. We'll get into the proposed format on the next slides, but we recommend a poster exercise with a supplemental discussion, and I'll share more about what that means. And lastly, we'll offer, as Brian mentioned, an email option for stakeholders who cannot attend. On the right, I'll point out some stakeholder perspectives that you'll see represented in more detail on the next slide. We recognize that these groups are not mutually exclusive, but they are helpful in helping us think about making sure we get a wide representation at the meeting. So we worked with George and Kevin to build this draft list of stakeholder perspectives that we believe would be beneficial to include in the meeting. We would appreciate it if you could take a close look at this list, commissioners, before the end of the month and let us know who else you think should be represented. We need to limit the meeting participants to 25, as I mentioned, and there are currently 21 perspectives on the list. So as we continue to refine who is on this list, it'll be important to be mindful about who could be included in this conversation, who could be included in the public comment opportunity.
I'm not sure if this, I mean, SCOG in particular, I'm just thinking that all of the members who are listed on there are mostly members of SCOG, so I'm not sure if it's redundant or if
I
it
think it's
does
with
have
the
a.
economic development, just because Jill's focus has been on that, or she's moving in that direction. That was the
I'm
thought that I
asking
had.
asking
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
question.
No, yeah, I agree. Like the representative, that was the only hook that I.
No,
thought.
you're both correct. Especially because of the recent initiative that Jill has been taking up with SCOG about the port infrastructure and infrastructure development related to power and water. I thought, yeah, they represent the cities and those other groups, but I thought she had a specific focus now that she's developing with the SEDS, the comprehensive economic development strategy. So I thought that she might have her perspective on this. That's why it's on there. But you're right. It does. I think we need to consider something like that because the stakeholder, like the definition Brian showed, we don't need to have everybody in a group. We can have somebody representing that group. And so but because there were public agencies that she's representing, I didn't know if that applied here. So that's why I doubled up on it.
I think the other part too is under like setting boundaries or guidelines as to who we are asking to be their representation as well. Because I think bringing the proper perspective of their representative is important. Like, are we asking for the mayors? Are we asking for city managers? Are we asking for, public works directors? Who from those stakeholder perspectives, I think is also a very critical element.
Do you have feedback on that? On how you
I think we would have to discuss how you would.
Yeah, I don't, that.
And I'm look.
Now's the time.
Because I
Yeah.
just don't know that, the mayors are gonna come in and know a whole lot about this issue at all.
I don't know. Yeah.
And also it's dangerous if they just punt it to someone who is.
Has no, yeah.
So
I'm just
I hear what you're-
thinking in my
yes.
head,
Yep,
like,
no, and I heard that.
if I was told to just go to a meeting and not really,
Yeah.
So Cedar Rowley has an administrator.
yes. they do.
Burlington has a temporary administrator, as far as I know.
Oh, no.
I think I got an email a while ago, but it's been a while. But Mount Vernon does not.
No.
So we'd have to consider who we invite.
Well, and maybe the mayors, I mean, ultimately the mayors or the council, whoever gets to decide who their representation is. I think it's important to like have a conversation with them
Yeah.
about that. And instead of like how Ecology did, where they just emailed one person and invited that one person
Yeah.
and made that decision for the entity, I think that we need
have
to
a
be
conversation.
careful on how we have a current example that we are going to be getting to learn through and from.
Mhm.
And that gives us an opportunity to, even the invitation itself of who it goes to, I think is a very important detail.
Mhm. No, I will take it upon myself, and I didn't mean to leave out Anacortes, but same thing there as well. And the county, right? Like the county also falls into that group of
There's elected representatives and there's
Yeah.
staff.
educate or having the conversation about who is the best person to come and be here. And that's a conversation I can have with all of them.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
Because you're right, just sending an email, I don't want it to get lost. I don't want it to just get shuffled on to whoever has time to do it. It's important to send the right person. Or if you're not going to send somebody, you can provide
Just let us
comment.
know.
Provide your written comment,
Yes.
yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So I'll take that upon myself to make sure I reach out to all of them and have that conversation.
That would be great.
But no, it's, yeah, interesting or important feedback.
It's very important feedback. Any other comments? We do have a question about who should be on this list. I just want to make space for that. If anyone has input at this moment.
I think the list looks good.
Yeah, I can't think I'd add anyone,
Wonderful.
anybody that I'd want to take off.
I was just gonna say, it's grouped a little bit differently. Where we started was MOA partners. Like if you piece it together, you have everybody that's in the MOA. You've got current participants in the program, right? That's actually in that group. And then trying to get a good balance of people that represent all perspectives on what the program might look like. And so you have other local governments, and then the agricultural groups and environmental groups. That's the ones that we are familiar with, that we interact with, that have come to make public comment. And so that's how we develop that list. But again, this will provide this slide deck to you. And like Brian said earlier, give us feedback in the next couple of weeks, and then we can just make sure that we're vetting this properly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. So these next two slides elaborate on the format that we recommend for the meeting. We'll begin with welcome and introductions, and then move on to a presentation and a Q&A session. This portion we allocated quite a bit of time to because it's important to ensure that all meeting participants are entering this dialogue with a shared understanding of the facts. And so this will include the information you see on the right about basic water rights, operational considerations, and the history of the transfer program. And then after a brief break, we'll move into the poster exercise that I mentioned earlier. This poster exercise is where we would facilitate a opportunity for participants to write responses to a curated list of questions and reflect on other stakeholder perspectives as well. This set of questions covers benefits and concerns, and it is also meant to spur discussion on the specific policy design details, like prioritizing program participants, rates, and accountability measures. These are questions that would also be on the public forum, as Brian mentioned, for public comment. So as they're watching, they would be able to write their answers as well. After participants have a chance to respond, Brian and I would then work with the group to summarize those responses in real time based on what's on the posters and facilitate a respectful and productive discussion around the question so that we have takeaways from the meeting. We propose a range of 2 to 3 hours. After more reflection, we would recommend more on the 3-hour side, which would allow about 15 minutes of discussion per question. Do you have any feedback on the format around the questions that you see on the slides?
I think it looks good.
Yeah, great. And also, I'm wondering on the background information and clarifying questions, I just do wonder if a 3 to 5 page primer or some kind of a white paper might help those that would like to do some studying ahead, or maybe the visual learners.
Yeah, I
or-
feel like that's a lot of information, especially when we just talked about the who's getting invited, and there's some, like, the irrigation districts are very up to speed on everything that's going on, and I personally don't want to get distracted by a bunch of questions that are completely impertinent or people that don't understand what's going on.
Exactly.
Like
That was my concern.
That is-
Who comes from what jurisdiction?
Yeah,
You
so
know.
maybe even a primer for them or something leading up to, because again, the current stakeholder group that we are engaged with, like that, I don't want us to be operating on 2 completely different levels.
Right. And we
And
don't
really, this opportunity I see is the opportunity for the commission to actually have a discussion with the stakeholders regarding these concerns, not a like you said, like 3 minutes to speak for public testimony. Like I would really like to get,
And with
Somewhere.
all of the effort and resources going into this, I think we can have an expectation that people show up prepared.
and if you're not prepared, then
Then don't, yeah.
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 Yeah, you're right. The background information, people should be at a certain level.
Yeah.
I think they need to approach the meeting from that level so we can get into, or their poster exercise can be details and not just basics.
We want details.
How many water rights do you have? Right? Like just those. So yeah, there's
What is
probably.
the issue we're trying to solve? We should all figure out what issue we're trying to solve before then. We should.
Can you go back forward to the questions again real quick?
And possibly have these questions be sent out
Yeah.
as part of that primer information so that people can come
Be aware.
collected with their thoughts.
Got it.
Because I've never really been a part of a poster exercise, but I have a feeling it could get,
I think we need to have something in the questions too about the timeline of this, like the
Like the
length of
duration?
the duration of the agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's been a pretty key sticking point.
About, you mean duration of,
annual versus a multi-year.
Multi-year.
Multi-year,
okay.
yeah.
Wonderful. It's all really helpful feedback. Thank you.
And I think also, I mean, something that I was going to ask in regards to the memo that we were provided and we provided feedback on, I was wondering if we were going to get an update of
That's in the
that.
works, yeah.
Okay, excellent. Because that would also be a helpful tool to be provided as part of the framework of this discussion. At least
Yeah.
for supplemental information for people to like better understand. I mean, even that memo itself, once we agree all the information is accurate, then that can help inform those who, like when you go talk to the mayors about who's going to be their
right.
person,
Yeah, that
representative.
there's it's on our webpage that we have for the water rights lease program, but we looked at that executive summary. It's been a couple of months, but we summarize like really high level. Here's what we've done. Here's what we're talking about doing as part of this program. That gets you to a certain point. And then there's like, yeah, that memo would get you even deeper. Like, here's a bunch of this. There's operational things that I discussed that, yeah, I would have to work it into something that's more of a summary that we could share with people. So, okay.
Will we be getting an updated memo draft from feedback that was provided?
Yes, that's what's in works right now.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, so you all agree on prepping our stakeholders
Yeah.
prior.
And the individual, whoever that individual, we already know who their representation is going to be. So if they do have questions leading up to it, that they can be well informed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is perfect feedback because obviously we want to set the stage for a really thoughtful conversation so we can share information in advance, present that same information, give people a chance to ask questions, and then, move them into the poster exercise, knowing they've already seen those questions, they've had a chance to confer with their staff or, their peers or constituents, and then bring forward a thoughtful response.
I would say timing is another very important thing. I would say I would like that material to be provided at least 2 to 3 weeks prior to the meeting, or I mean, as expeditiously as possible, because I feel like another example where you get a meeting invite for something that's going to happen in less than 20 days and you don't even know what you're discussing.
Yeah.
I just don't, again, in the everything to do with transparency is prepared, and as much information is provided beforehand that no one's being surprised or
Brian just jumped ahead to that slide. So
Yeah,
Perfect.
this is kind of our next step slide. And so what we are thinking is we would ask for your feedback, by the 31st of this month. And then we'll be back to you all on August 11th with revised materials. I would think we could include the informational material as well as revisions to the agenda and the like. And then we would leave that meeting on August 11th with, final requests from the commission to make changes. The meeting date would then be September 1st. So that gives us just about that 2 to 3 week time frame, I think, without looking at my calendar, to be able to get materials out in advance.
And maybe even once I mean, even if we just agree on the who, I know you'll be having conversations with people when you're determining who, so at least people are getting that heads up now that there will be a
Yeah.
meeting on September 1st. And more information is to come. So,
If we
Great.
can agree on that date of September 1st, then that helps have that conversation without it just
Yeah.
being general. Do these dates seem workable for everybody? So if you have, like I said, we'll share this information with you as well, but if we can get
Yeah.
comments back by the 31st, we can prep for that
Mhm.
August 11th meeting and then just be set and, ready to go with what we have. Okay.
so what are we providing comment with for the 31st
Um,
on the
Invite
revised
list.
memo?
the questions, like the stuff that we've
Okay.
looked at here, like the format,
Okay.
like just, yeah, the basic things. Oh, on the 11th, I'll prepare the rest of the materials to say that this is, whatever else we have that we're going to share with people, the
Okay.
stakeholders. So it might take me a little bit of time to get together.
Mhm.
But I'll have that ready for the August 11th.
Good plan.
Okay. And George, just to confirm, it sounds like we'll send out a hold the date in advance before the August 11th meeting. And we'll say, please prepare, please hold the date on September 1st and determine who you'd like to have represent your organization. These are the kinds of topics we'll be talking about so that they can select the best representative. Is that right?
I think there's some groups that we could do that and they'll know exactly what we're talking about. And there's other groups
No
that we need to
idea.
know. I need to maybe have that conversation first to let them know it's coming.
Okay.
But yes, I can have those conversations in the meantime and we can send that. I'll just let you know when we're ready to do it.
Great. Let me just pop back to one last slide here. We wanted to talk about proposed roles for that forum. So, we view our job there as really neutrally facilitating the conversation. We are thinking of putting the board in a position more of listening and asking clarifying questions. We wanted to kind of avoid putting you in an uncomfortable position of having to, have a position on this, or having to seem like you're making decisions in this meeting. It's really a listening and information gathering session for the board. We saw PUD staff is kind of serving as a resource, both helping present some of that foundational information and then responding to the factual questions. And then honestly asking everyone to come with a collaborative mindset, kind of bringing their perspective, but obviously primed to listen to others. Any questions or suggested changes on these proposed roles?
No?
Looks good.
Terrific. Well, that is all we have for this evening. As I think, as George said, we can share this with you and then see if there's any additional or final feedback from the board. And then we'll be back on August 11th with more information to share and a revised take at all of this.
Excellent. Thank
That's
you.
good.
It's great.
So the objective would be to have the stakeholder meeting on September 1st. And then at the bottom of that last slide, October 13th is when we bring like a summary or, whatever summary comments we need to bring to the board. And then that's our transition. So we'd say, okay, we're wrapped up the stakeholder meeting. Here's everything. And now let's start our budget hearing. And then we're going to get into the budget season at that point. And then we'll pick up the water rights lease program once we're done budgeting. So that's October 13th is the first meeting in October when we would have our budget hearing. So that'd be a transition meeting to shift over into that. Change gears in your mind as well.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions or feedback?
No, just once that memo is updated, being able to review that as well and see if there's any additional comments for like premise and
Yeah, and
structure and
that's something we can put on that page that we have as well.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bethany. Appreciate your
Thanks,
help.
everyone. Have a good evening.
You bet.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, transitioning to information. Appreciate the reservoir updates and always good to see good news out there. Any commissioner comments?
None from me.
I just have one. I had someone just having casual conversation about fill stations, and some hope, I guess, on some customers' behalf that we will be updating the keypad and card thing someday.
Yes.
So just that is
What-
definitely desired.
What feedback did you get?
Their card wouldn't work, and then they got sent to a different station, and it was
Okay.
it happened a while ago, but they're regular users of the stations, and they were very grateful of the existence of the stations, but they're like the system's a little antiquated.
Yeah, it is.
So.
Okay, thank you for the
Touch to
feedback.
pay.
Yeah.
Well, I did, as George mentioned, I had an opportunity this morning to address the County Board of Commissioners. I thought it was important. The timing was not optimal because I would have preferred to have been able to chat as a board and taken some kind of a consensus to them. And so I was very specific about speaking on behalf of me, not us, to kick it off. But I wanted, there had been, and even in the conversation, and I appreciate Will Honey's approach on this, and then just talk about PUD when we're in the room type of thing. And so it was great. I mean, he set the table, and then I was able to step up and really share where we're at in terms of, and it not specific to the data center. I mean, he actually led with, hey, PUDs don't get to decide who they sell water to. And then moved on, which I think was, stole my thunder, which is awesome. I'll take that every day. But really it was just to share with the Board of Commissioners that there's no daylight between what they're trying to do and what we discussed as a commission in terms of prioritizing water. I will also echo George's comment that there continues to be, and I'm sure you've had, when you drop into discussing treated water versus untreated water, you lose like 80% of the people. And so it's, how do we message that? And so that I think continues to be an important messaging aspect of where we're at, and making sure that the commissioners know, and planning department, whoever else it is, that they're getting input on that. This isn't really, it's not that there's not a there. And I made the comment that it is the data center discussion is really a companion discussion or issue with ensuring that we're making locally based decisions about resources such as water, right? So that was.
How many people were there?
With George and I, maybe 12. So it was shockingly.
That's not all
yeah,
attended.
and
Surprising.
no, it was.
That's shocking, yeah.
Yeah, no, and we'll actually.
Everybody's got an opinion on it.
And that's what Will said. Based on, like, this is not indicative of the discussions online. So keyboard warriors and whatnot, but it was, comments are what they were. But largely it is really a matter of trying to, I don't even say discern, but to be able to say that there is a false, not a false choice that's being propagated as it's farms or data centers and PUDs stuck in the middle, to be able to turn around and say here's within our powers and authorities what we can do with both of these. And we're really excited about talking about what we're doing with farms, because the straw man of the data centers, nobody's beaten down. It's important. Great. Appreciate that there's positioning by the county to say, look, we're just ill-suited. So if we're on your site list, go ahead and take it off, because we don't have cheap land, we don't have cheap water, and we don't have cheap power. Right. And so that was kind of my comments as well, as that is similarly our take. However, within our limits, and we've got limits on what we can do. And our focus right now is on the transfers, right? Making sure that we get the allocated water appropriately and most efficiently put to work. So was where all the commissioners came up afterward, and thanks for being there and acknowledge your seat. So it's good. Keep that going. All right. Any other comments?
None for me.
Outstanding. Appreciate the meeting today, everyone. We will adjourn at
Thank you.
5:58.